Here in chapter 7, Bunsen says that he's going to start listing kind of these different types of worldview, and he kind of categorizes them in the best of his ability. And again, we have to remember who his audience is. It's kind of written for advanced high school, college students that he's originally talking to, and so we're gleaning from that fact. And so he says that he's not going to pretend that he'll mention every school of philosophy and that everything's kind of weaned down into the nitty gritty of all the details. This is kind of a good general overview of what he's offering here. He says that he'll give kind of the basic types of worldview and the primary options in your philosophy of life. So he says, keep in mind that you do not have to know all the particulars of a worldview. And that's one of also the nice things about presuppositionalism is you don't have
to know everything.
You don't have to have all these facts memorized that you're able to kind of say, okay, what do you get? And then you can, it's what we learned in tactics. We can say, what do you mean by that? And so that helps flow the conversation. And so where presuppositionalism tends to be very scary sounding, or covenantal apologetics, if you want to take the elephant way, this is really kind of listening to the other side and then trying to be good at picking up on the missteps of the other person.
Right. And so what he's saying here is if you have a good grasp, or at least some grasp, of all of these various worldviews, then you can pretty much categorize where people are coming from. And once you can do that, now you know the general problems with that particular approach, that particular worldview.
Right. So then he says, he'll go through the various ways of looking at the world and doing an internal critique of them, so that you have the basic problems and questions down, and you can be equipped to kind of take on all comers of what you're dealing with. And so that's what he does here. I would refer also to the back of each chapter. He does a really good job, or the book does a good job of kind of defining these terms. And so this chapter especially, you'll get to it. It's like, okay, what is Stoicism again? And so the back of the book offers that. And also there's the discussion questions to kind of motivate you, especially if you're doing this in a group setting, or if you're kind of wanting to quiz yourself to make sure that you're understanding everything. Those are there as well. So I want to refer to the back of the chapter as well.
Yeah, good. Okay, well, let's excuse me. Let's kind of jump into our worldview. He says it's a list and a map of worldviews here that he wants to share with us. So he jumps right in here. He starts with what he calls spiritual monism and dualism. Right. So spiritual monism, he tells us, says that reality is made up of only one kind of thing. All is one, and the one kind of thing that everything consists of is spiritual in character. It's not physical, it's not material, it's spiritual. And so what he says we perceive as a physical world is something really of an illusion, right? It appears that there's matter. It kind of seems like matter exists. It appears that there are different things out there in the world, that there are, distinctions and that sort of thing. But in fact, according to spiritual monism, all is one, and the one is spiritual. So he gives, for instance, Hinduism, he says, is a good example of spiritual monism, where everything is one and will eventually go back into, the oneness of the universe kind of thing. Once we, get out of our samsara cycling of that as a result of the various karma that we collect along the way.
Right. So you have to be a really good gnat for your 7 days here on Earth. And if you're not a good gnat, then you come back as something else. Which
that's right.
I'm
even lower, whatever that is.
Yeah, I'm curious to know what being a bad gnat or a bad butterfly is. Maybe it's trying to be a peanut butter butterfly, but monism. You can kind of get this in your head, like a monotheist, a one God, monergism, one who is working. And, this idea permeates just out of Hinduism, if you want to put it in kind of the pulp culture. It's the Matrix view. We're all one giant battery, and what we see out in the world is not really there. What is really there is this underlying perceived veil of you being trapped in this, one machine to do the job, and you're waking up. You can manipulate society and culture and even yourself. And if you look at the directors of the Matrix, especially now, you see that type of worldview carried out, even in a to call it not a religious setting would not be correct, because it's still a religious setting. But that's what we're getting here with monism.